Hi, friends. This is Chad,
And this is Lauren.
and we're back with another episode of For Good Forever. Today's episode is all about collaboration, what it really means, why it matters, and how it shows up here in the La Crosse area.
We're excited to be joined by the deviously creative, weirdly effective, and absolutely magical Carrie Thompson, Executive Director of the Sustainability Institute. The Sustainability Institute is one of our nonprofit capacity building grant recipients, and through that support, Carrie is now part of a cohort of nonprofit leaders who are learning and growing alongside one another. In this conversation, we'll explore how collaboration shows up in real life, not just as a buzzword, but as a powerful tool for strengthening organizations and our community as a whole. Welcome, Carrie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here today. We want to begin today's episode with our signature segment, Either Or, so our listeners can get to know you a little bit better as a human. We'll give you two options at a time, and you pick which one you prefer, okay?
All right, this might be tough because sometimes I'm an either or and kind of.
Yes, kind of gal.
And.
Okay, that's all right, too.
That's our theme. There you go.
All right, Carrie, fall or summer?
Oh, fall.
Hike in the bluffs or a stroll along the river?
Both. But if I had to choose, I would probably say a hike in the bluffs.
Sweet or salty?
Again, that's an and. Give me it all. I
Like
want
at the
sweet
same
and
time,
salty. Yeah, all the flavors.
And dogs or cats?
I would have to say dogs.
Okay, are you an anti-cat person?
I'm an anti-cat, but I am definitely a dog lover.
And then coffee hour or happy hour for you?
Oh, man. That's a both in one day if possible. That would be doubly great.
Maybe not at the same time, but
True, not at the same time. I'll drink an espresso martini, but definitely not at the same time.
thanks for playing, Carrie. Appreciate the opportunity to get to know you a little bit more.
How about to start us off today? You tell us a little bit about your role at the Sustainability Institute.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. Well, my name's Carrie Thompson. I'm the Executive Director at the Sustainability Institute. We are a local 501c3 based here in La Crosse, and we're really education forward. We provide programs and events that bring people together to learn about and connect around and get inspired to take action on sustainability. Our role is we really want to help champion and celebrate the good things that are happening here in our community and help people see that sustainability, while is really rooted in environmentalism, is also about taking care of our people and leaning into strong economies, and that it will take work from all of us to be and build a positive vision for our future.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I know our theme today is collaboration, and just everything the Sustainability Institute does. I love that all of us piece. But maybe from your own perspective, when you hear that word collaboration, what does it mean to you?
I think personally, growing up, I've always been an individual who wants to help people and has always seen the world through a lens of people working together. And to me, that's the root of collaboration, is how can we build connections, build new ideas, and create bonds across all different sectors of our community and our people. And professionally, I really try to look in how can our organization work alongside others to not only build and advance our mission, but generally build a thriving community for all.
I should have asked you up front. I mean, you can take those skills to all kinds of work. Why sustainability?
For me, I think sustainability is really rooted in collaboration. It takes work from all different places. And I think in a professional setting, I was at a point in my career where I was looking to find some balance. I was a new mother and had small children, and I wanted to find some personal balance. But what I saw from the Sustainability Institute at the time was really that shared mission of building a positive vision for our future. And while that was alluring, the more I did the work, the more I worked with the people within the Sustainability Institute, our board, Casey Meehan from Western Technical College. It really just seemed like the place I wanted to be.
You talked a little bit, Carrie, about coming alongside other organizations and doing the work together, which brings me really to our next question, which is about your experience as a nonprofit capacity building grantee. So for listeners who may not know, the Community Foundation has shifted some of its grant making to capacity building to really strengthen the sustainability of organizations in the community who could use resource infusion and partnership to do that. And so Sustainability Institute is one of those organizations that we're helping to build sustainability with. How has your experience been as a nonprofit capacity building recipient? What has that grant done for your organization, and kind of how has collaboration impacted your experience there?
I think first and foremost, when we found out that we were recipients, I felt like a large exhale. I felt like all of a sudden we had some breathing room. We are a very small, lean but mighty nonprofit. My role is limited part-time. My colleague Casey Meehan, his time is given in kind, which is generous. But most of the time when you're in a small nonprofit, your head often is looking down at the work in front of you on a consistent basis. And this grant, I felt personally immediately a weight, or I always say it gave us a breathing room to look up and to imagine what we could be doing beyond our current scope of work and what possibilities were out there. So that was really inspiring and exciting. And then as we've been through the program, I have been so grateful not only for the collaborations that have come out of our work with the La Crosse Area Community Foundation, but those with our fellow cohort members. Natalie, Abigail, Mattia, Shannon, and Amanda have just been wonderful people to get to know, and that has really blossomed into relationships that have offered me support, and hopefully I have offered them support as well. As for the Sustainability Institute, it gave us dollars to reinvest into our infrastructure. So really look at our board governance, kind of tune up some of the best practices that we need to be doing as a nonprofit. Again, you are so focused on working at your mission and what you are doing that it's really easy to think about, oh yeah, on a yearly basis, we need to be reviewing our bylaws and we should have these good structures and foundations in place. So some of that has provided us the opportunity to do that and just be more mindful and structured within our infrastructure. It's also given us the opportunity to work with some outside consultants that we wouldn't have had capacity to do before and bring in new ideas and thoughts that maybe our board just, again, haven't had the time to come around. And in the last year and a half, we've had additional collaborations that I always say have come out of the capacity building grant, maybe directly or indirectly. We got to work on a Youth Climate Action Fund grant program with the City of La Crosse and with the La Crosse Area Community Foundation that I personally feel was extremely successful. And we found collaborations within the other nonprofits in our cohort. I really made it my mission last year to provide my time and support to the La Crosse Lighthouse, to Next Steps for Change, for the Hmong Community and Cultural Center, because I really appreciated what Abigail and Natalie and Mattia had provided to me. And I hope to do that in this coming year as well for the center and for the good fight for both Amanda and Shannon.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. It gives me chills to hear you talk about the cohort part, because we over and over again just are learning that peer learning styles are so successful, even for us as adults. We know that for children, right? And I think often forget that as adults, those things work for us too. And it's been so cool to see that group just learn and grow together. What have you learned from other cohort members that you maybe wouldn't have been able to learn on your own?
It sounds really simple and it sounds really obvious now that I reflect and think about it, but like our problems, our struggles as a small nonprofit are not unique to us. And that feeling or realization that you are not alone is really powerful. And it kind of empowers you to not necessarily set those struggles aside, but somewhat move past that and kind of say, okay, what's next? Or let's figure this out together. Mm-hmm. And that has been something that I often reflect on and think, gosh, I mean, I should have known that. I should have known that the struggles that we have as a small nonprofit are not just within the imaginary four walls of the Sustainability Institute, but it was really comforting and empowering to sit down with other nonprofit leaders and say, oh yeah, you have this struggle too? Well, this is what I did. How about you? Are you working through this? And so that was really empowering, simple, but really rang true when I sat down and got to know the others in the cohort.
Yeah, it makes so much difference to know that you're not alone. I know that, Chad knows, I know that those executive director, CEO positions, whatever the kind of lead top staff position is in an organization is really lonely and exhausting. And at the end of the day, you're where the buck stops. And that is a heavy place to be, especially when it always feels like the sky is falling.
For sure. And in our organization being so small, a lot of my work is done independently. The day-to-day work is done independently. And so this cohort, again, has just offered another touch base, another sounding board, which I think is really important. And in addition to that, selfishly, at times, when you're looking for personal balance, if you're saying, I have to put this down for a moment, you have been immersed in a group of people who are equally passionate about building a strong community, who are equally passionate about doing good work, and knowing that while at times the load that you carry can feel isolating, it is not solely your load that you are carrying, that there are wonderful people in this community. There are wonderful organizations doing good work. And that encourages, I think, all of us to want to continue to put one foot in front of the other and do more great things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, whatever. I don't know that we knew that would happen in the way that it has. I mean, that yes and piece.
Yeah.
You think you're going to inject support into very small nonprofits that need it, and then all the other things that have happened. I was just thinking, I mean, Carrie's always very modest about all these things, but I mean, you are in some ways the poster child for our program. But I was just thinking, so as part of our role at the foundation, we also participate in lots of events with our nonprofit, our capacity building recipients. And I'm amazed you'll show up at an event for Next Steps for Change, and there's Carrie volunteering
as a bearded lady.
As a bearded lady. Yes.
I was a very lovely bearded lady.
But I think I'm just really struck by that idea of, I mean, your organization in many ways is you, and now you have this whole group of people. I think that's been a powerful and maybe a little unexpected outcome of this. So I appreciate you sharing about that.
I would definitely agree. Unexpected. We, hoped that the cohort model would be helpful, but definitely didn't anticipate it being something that would build kind of the depth of relationships that it has.
Well, do you mind telling us? I mean, so you all did a food drive together this fall, didn't you?
We did. We organized a food drive that we kind of collaboratively put out there. Not all of us have a physical location for drop-off, but we worked on collecting items using our networks and social media to kind of put out there that our community was in need. And so we wanted to be a part of that. I want to go back just for a moment, Chad. You had mentioned that you were, this was an unexpected outcome. For me personally, the cohort has been the magic of the capacity building grant program. We cannot survive without the dollars, and we are extremely grateful for those dollars. But for me, I always say the magic is the cohort, and we meet once a month, which doesn't sound like super often, but for our organizations that are busy and the people who are leading these organizations are incredibly pulled in multitudes of directions. We get together once a month, and I can tell you almost every time that we get together, everyone says, I'm so busy, but I wanted to be here today. Right? I was so ready to catch up with everyone and see how we're all doing and do that kind of pulse check-in. And that has been really meaningful for me. And so when I would hear from, Abigail from La Crosse Lighthouse that they're having an event and they need volunteers to do the check-in, I'm more than capable to do that and happy to do that and show up for not only Abigail, but for the Lighthouse. And when Natalie was doing their big fundraiser, their night out, and it was their first one and they needed an extra hand, I think actually that week I had just reached out by email and just said, if you need an extra set of hands, I'm happy to help. And within a few minutes, she was like, yes, please. And I said, great, I'll be there. What do I need to wear? And I came as a bearded lady. It was costumed, so it was a choice. But that magic and that relationship building within the cohort, I think, has sustained the individuals within the cohort to keep moving forward.
I think it's the more I think about it, it's that one of the things we combat in kind of the nonprofit community is this scarcity mentality, right? Everybody's stressed, nobody has enough. and you guys have kind of reversed that thinking by leaning on each other. I think that's, I don't know, I just, yeah, very proud of the outcomes of that particular program. That's, so maybe on a harder note, I mean, so you said all kinds of wonderful things about collaboration and
Yeah.
working with individuals. What parts of it are hard? I mean, even when people genuinely want to work together, what do you think is the challenges of trying to collaborate?
I think that there's a few challenges that always kind of bubble to the surface in that situation. I am an individual who likes to help and wants to always collaborate with organizations. I think first and foremost, a trust relationship is really important. There are times when organizations want to collaborate because it may seem like a smart decision, but they don't maybe have a foundation of really knowing each other first, which can create some issues. With many small organizations, a lack of resources can be a struggle. What can we bring to the table? Do we have labor capacity? Do we have dollars that will be a benefit to the collaboration? I think is a challenge and a hard thing to think about and to say out loud. For me, a really big piece is communication, to have really clear and frequent communication so people know what their role is. I think back to the Youth Climate Action Fund program last year. You know, the city, specifically Lewis Coleman, brought those dollars to the table from Bloomberg Philanthropies, which was amazing. And the La Crosse Area Community Foundation really knew their role and said, we can be, the granting partners who can help people work through what does an application need to be and what does that budget process need to look like. And we can hold those dollars and make sure that they get out to the correct entities. And then our role was really at the Sustainability Institute, championing those stories, making sure we were helping our youth think through project ideas and find local partners and then celebrate and market that work to our community so they could see what was happening. And that was an example where I really felt like each of the organizations had a clear role and said, this is what we can bring to the table. So going back to what some of those challenges are, sometimes I feel in the nonprofit, we want to safety or secure our own resources, but even more so thinking about what can we offer, what is within our capacity when we bring that to a collaborative idea.
No, I love that story because I think it's very strengths based, right? And you found the strengths of those three partners. Because sure, maybe we'd love to go out and tell stories and work with you, but it's not really what we do, right? I mean, it's that's a great example. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciated, Carrie, that we talked a little bit about the lack of resources, like what can we bring to the table, and I think the scarcity mindset goes both ways, right? Like scarcity of thought in what resources exist in the community for us to have, and scarcity of what we actually have to give. And so often I think the keys to those collaborative relationships often ends up being the less maybe tangible resources, and really, things like partnership and diversity of thought and willingness to show up.
Yeah, willingness to be open and provide ideas and listen to other ideas, I think is another key component of having a successful collaboration.
Yeah. Lauren talks fairly often about the space between collaboration versus cooperation. And one of those could feel a lot. It's probably more challenging to collaborate, but they certainly feel very differently.
Absolutely. To talk more about what collaboration looks like in La Crosse specifically, there definitely is a difference, like Chad said, in what it feels like to do collaboration versus kind of that forced cooperation because we're intermixing in the same spheres, or we have clients or consumers or humans that need to use both of our resources. It looks very different than how do we put aside the differences between us and really work on one goal and put whatever resources we have available into that. What do you see collaboration looking like in La Crosse, and what makes this community unique from a collaborative perspective?
I love to think about La Crosse as a small city in the sense that I feel it has a charm about it where people feel really connected to the space. We live in a very nature-filled area. It's unique to having the bluffs and the river here. There's a significant part in in my life. I actually was coming home from college with my college roommate who had grew up north of the cities and coming down the hill from Nodine, and her being like, this isn't Minnesota and Wisconsin. What is this place, right? So I think we have a treasure here. And I think most people really recognize that. And most people want to do good work and work together. Without a doubt, there are challenges. I'm always hopeful that there will be more collaborative opportunities. I think that we have an abundance of nonprofit organizations, an abundance of, really strong local businesses and organizations. I think about our healthcare that we have here. I think about the educational campuses that we have here. I think about some of the large businesses like Quick Trip and Train that are doing great work, but there are so many opportunities that we could be doing more collaboratively together. With that being said, I have recently been reminded of a collaboration that I felt was so successful and was really inspiring. And I hope that those stories echo through our community and get more of our larger partners to consider what collaboration might look like with smaller partners. Because I think that could be a big challenge when organizations feel mismatched in capacity of how can we collaborate together. So last month, I was at the Wisconsin Climate Action Navigators meeting here in La Crosse, hosted at the Nature Place. And I was reminded of the Renew the Block project on Logan's North Side. And that's really a shining star in collaboration, right? The ultimate goal was to do revitalization in that neighborhood, and a collaboration talking about a nonprofit with Habitat for Humanity and businesses like Coulee Region Ecoscapes, the city of La Crosse, the school district, and then even drilling down into the neighborhood associations, the people who live there, and the staff and students at the school, right? All of those key players had a voice in that collaboration. And while it's not always easy, that to me is always just a really shining example of a collaboration that brought a lot of different players across a lot of different sectors. And it's my hope that La Crosse will embrace more of that kind of work for our community to continue to thrive.
That's such a good intergenerational example as well, right? Recently, I was at a Rotary Club meeting and they were talking about Renew the Block and kind of going back through how the collaboration happened. And it was spring break, so my 16-year-old daughter happened to be with me at Rotary because she loves going. And she, in the middle of it, leaned over to me and went, "Mom, my class helped create the mural." That was when they were doing it, right? And so while she's not there anymore and isn't really benefiting from the impact, she has a connection to that project and always will, and is so proud of that.
She has a sense of ownership, which is really neat. And I think it ties back to what you said before, is sometimes collaboration is just sharing voices, is allowing people to come to the table and provide a diverse web of thought. They didn't have to ask the students what they wanted to see. They could have just had professionals draw out the plans and say, this is what we're doing, and this is what we can fund, and this is what the city would allow. But at that meeting, when they were presenting, they said, we had a plan. And when we went and talked to the students and they said, oh no, we really like having this space, this is where we like to play, or we really wish we had this in our outdoor classroom, the plans changed. And they changed due to listening to those voices. And they also had homeowners from that block talk. And those homeowners said, it spurred more action and more community within the people in that neighborhood and brought more side quests, if you want to call them, of collaboration between those neighbors. So I think about that and I just say, here's a really great example and hopefully some inspiration for more organizations to want to tackle collaborative projects in a more intentional and diverse kind of way.
Absolutely.
Love that. I think it's that space between cooperation moving to collaboration. I think it's a lot about those power dynamics, and that's such a good example of you wouldn't have to let youth into that discussion. The larger businesses wouldn't have to really listen and change.
Absolutely.
Well, Carrie, if you could give us one small step that individuals and organizations could take today to be better collaborators, what comes to mind?
get to know people. I think maybe that's an oversimplification of a much bigger process, because I don't think you can get to know people in short snippets of time. But to me, collaboration is really rooted in relationship building. Being a part of the capacity building grant has gotten me outside of the invisible four walls of the Sustainability Institute and into more spaces. And those spaces have people, and those people are doing great things. And innately, I want to get to know those people. And as you get to know them and you learn about who they are beyond their work, you go, I want to work with this person. I want to do more things. I want to see what they're doing and bring their ideas in. So simply, I just say, get to know people. There's lots of great people doing great things. Take a moment out of your day to really sit down with someone and get to know who they are, what makes them more than just either their role in their organization or an individual that you have just met.
I'm hearing a thread of active listening, right? I think often when we talk to people or when we solicit feedback about processes, we listen for the point of we did this, we said we did this, right? We said we talked to that person, or we said we listened to this group. But the true change that you're talking about is when we actively listen to understand, to learn, and with the understanding that might cause change and that's a good thing, right? Thinking about the way that Habitat really listened and really made change based on feedback, didn't just provide a space for people to share, but truly made it actionable.
Yeah, in our work at the Sustainability Institute, we use the framework of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And the UN Sustainable Development Goals can often feel maybe a little lofty or institutionalized. So some global partners collaborated, and out of that, reimagined them into the Good Life Goals, which is what we tend to more publicly face. But I always remember looking through those Good Life Goals, and they give individuals or communities simple steps that they can do to work towards a more peaceful and prosperous community for all. But in one of those goals, Good Life 12, it initially talks about how we can, use things to their capacity, we can recycle. But another part of that was collecting experiences and people over things. And in my head, I always just have this kind of strange imagery, like, I don't know if we should be collecting people. But the core of that really struck through to my core of saying, I want to collect people. I want to get to know people. I want to make those connections so that there are more opportunities to do fun things, to do collaborative things, to open doors, not only for myself, but for them. And so I think that's at the heart of collaboration. If we can collect experiences, if we can get to know people, that's going to create a really peaceful and prosperous place for us to thrive.
That's on bridging social capital,
yeah.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Love, love, love. Carrie, thanks so much. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your wisdom. Every time I get to sit down with you, I just find myself coming out of those spaces with yes, there's so much hope. There's so much good. There's so much opportunity to be doing good things in this community.
You feel better.
Yeah, don't you? Don't you?
I feel better. And I think that's the biggest joy of my work is at the Sustainability Institute, we want to be that amplifier, that microphone to say, look at all these things that are happening. Look at all of this work that you may not have framed as sustainability work, but it's happening. How can you get out and be part of it? There's so many great things happening here. And it's really easy to feel uncertain and feel worry and concern. But what I hope people walk away with is find good. And there's a lot of good happening.
It's so good to hear that. It's so good to hear that. Thank you so much, Carrie. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Carrie today and encourage each of you to lean into collaboration in your own way to strengthen the lacrosse community for good forever.
And if you'd like to stay connected with LACF, follow us on Instagram at Lacrosse Area Foundation and on Facebook and LinkedIn at Lacrosse Area Community Foundation. We'd love to continue the conversation.